What is it you do? I mean, everybody talks about Latin jazz.
Yes.
That Tito is the king of Latin jazz. Tell me about it, the music as you see it, as you hear it.
Well, jazz, naturally, jazz has been around a long time.
Yeah.
So the gentleman that first started this Latin jazz movement was Mr. Dizzy Gillespie.
Yes.
Many, many years ago in the 40s. And with Mr. Chano Pozo, a great conga player. And they did the number like Manteca, Tintindeo, Night in Tunisia. There was always that Latin influence there. Yeah. And for years, Dizzy has always loved our Latin American rhythms and percussion. And so have many leaders. Stan Kenton, Woody Herman, so many of them, Basie. I can't name all of them. But throughout the years, I've always grown up with the jazz feeling because I was born in Harlem in New York, and the Latin. And then during the years, the 60s and the 70s, the great Machito Orchestra band leader and Mr. Mario Bowser, who were my mentors, I was growing up with them and playing at the Palladium Ballroom, which was like the home of Mambo on 53rd Street and Broadway. Yeah. And everybody used to go up there. We had no...
this was what year? This was in the...
late 50s, 60s, and 70s. Yes,
that was the best time for that music?
Yes, beautiful. We used to get all kinds of people. We used to go up there 4 days a week, Wednesdays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. They used to go up there to watch the dances or to listen to the fine music that we used to have. And therefore, that's when we had Birdland, we had all the jazz places around New York also. And many of the jazz musicians used to come up to the Palladium to listen to our music, and we used to go down to the jazz places also. And we always try to get unification, a marriage, like Dizzy Gillespie always said about the music.
Now, was he an influence on you then?
Oh, yes, he was much an influence on me, and most of all our Latin Latin jazz musicians, and on the Latin jazz musicians also. So was Miles Davis, naturally, another trumpeter, great exponent, loved the Latin rhythms. So these people, I was very fortunate to have grown up in the neighborhood, and I could listen to them all the time and really enhance my career, my ear, and everything.
Who else influenced you?
Well, of course, Mr. Duke Ellington, naturally.
All jazz artists, you know, mild, all jazz artists.
Oh, yeah, jazz artists, because
American
they always
jazz
loved,
artists.
yes.
Duke.
Yeah, Duke. Most of the jazz orchestra, because they always love Latin rhythms more than the swing bands that they call them in days like Benny Goodman or Glenn Miller or Tommy Dorsey, those type of bands. But the other bands were the ones that really were more into Latin, because African music, naturally. Afro comes from the Caribbean area also, where all our rhythms and Brazilian music and all that. So that was the influence of more Latin and the jazz.
Were you in the movie Mambo Kings?
Oh, yes. I was there with Armand Asante, yes, Mambo Kings. And
Armand Asante.
Armand Asante, right, yes, that's right. Beautiful. And I taught him how to play the timbales.
Well, you taught him how to play this?
Oh, yes, but he was a drummer about 20 years before, a rock and roll drummer. So he had the technique, really. Yeah. So we practiced, and we did a number together, Mambo Kings, and that movie has really opened up the music scene for us around the world, because movies travel further in different languages, too.
Is this the best city in America for Latin jazz? Or is it...
Yes, well, we have...
Or is it Miami? Is it...
No, for Latin jazz, I would say New York. And of course, some people may say Chicago or Los Angeles. They have a lot of Latin jazz out in California. Miami has more of the Cuban.
Right, exactly.
The Cuban Latin jazz, if you want to call it that way. Of course, in South America, it's being heard in Venezuela and Colombia, even in Argentina. There are a lot of Latin Americans that play good jazz music also, and Mexico, of course. Yeah.
Tell me about your inclusion in the Newport Jazz Festival. What was it, 19 what?
Well, I just did it now, the Newport Jazz Festival. I've been doing it every year for the JVC Jazz Festival. Right. And it seems like Latin music or Latin jazz is becoming more popular every year. I do a lot of the jazz festivals, and I'm very happy to be representing our people, anyway, in this type of festival.
Is there a sense that Latin jazz is increasing in its popularity? I mean, is it growing?
Definitely, it's growing around the world, just like jazz is. I do all the major jazz festivals throughout the world, and over in Japan. I've been there 10 times, and now we're going...
The Japanese love jazz.
Oh, they love jazz and Latin music, too, very, very much so. Now I'm going to Singapore, Hong Kong, Manila, Australia, Jakarta, India. The Latin music, or Latin jazz, if you want to call it, it's really getting a lot of recognition around the world.
Well, as busy as you are and traveling as much as you do and playing music as much as you do, why in the world did you open up a restaurant?
Well, there's a lot of answers. First of all, somebody, my partner.
Because you wanted to eat.
Yeah, well, my wife doesn't cook that much in the house.
Yeah.
So I told her, honey, you don't have to worry anymore about cooking.
I'm going to have my own
restaurant. That's right. See? Because all I know how to do is open cans, really, in the house. I'm a can opener. And so I bought me an electric can opener for Christmas. See?
Yeah. So you bought yourself an electric can?
Yeah, myself, because when she's not around, that's the only thing naturally.
Right.
So, but anyway, they did their research and biographical material, whatever, and everything, and their resumes, and they found out that I was one of the top Latin names to be able to open up a restaurant of this sort, particularly with the big name, because I'm renowned all over Brooklyn, the Bronx.
And so, what do they make in this restaurant? What foods do you sell?
Seafood, really.
Seafood.
Yeah, seafood with some Caribbean dishes also mixed there.
Like what?
Well, it was composed paella, we call lechon, that's the pig, and all that. A whole lot of Puerto Rican dishes anyway. And the main idea is the memorabilia that we have in the restaurant of our Latin artists and Latin jazz artists, so that the young people, the Latinos that are growing up, know who the Latin artists are and get to know more about them.
Do you go back to Puerto Rico much?
Yes, I go 2 or 3 times a year. I just had a Heineken Jazz Festival down there dedicated to me. And then
Heineken is in beer?
Yes, beer.
Yeah.
They do a jazz festival, and then Berkeley College from Boston gave me a doctor's degree down there, which was I was very honored. Yeah. And so I go to Puerto Rico a lot. We intend to open a restaurant in Puerto Rico also.
Oh, that's right.
And in Miami.
It's a chain, is it?
A chain, that's right. Sure, trying to take those bongos around the world.
There you go. All right, play the bongos for me. Show me if you were teaching me.
Yes, if I was teaching you, see, this is the timbale. Yeah. You get the high pitch one up here and the low one over here. Yeah.
All right. Now, tell me, don't sit down yet. How do you hold it? I don't want to hold it, but you seem to hold it very lightly. It's almost.
Yes, I do.
What's the key to the way you hold the sticks?
Well, the main thing is use your wrist more, not as it goes on. Well, I studied drums for many years, and then I went over to Timbales, so I have more or less the American.
Who's the best drummer you ever heard?
Well, when I was very young, about 14, I went to a contest, and I did Sing, 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 Gene Krupa's Sing, 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 and I won first prize, and it was, I think, $10.
Right.
Yes, and it was wonderful. I used to love him. And sometimes...
So Krupa would have been one of the best for you.
Oh, yeah. At that time, I was growing up, naturally. Yeah. I got so many drummers nowadays, Mr. Max Roach, all the way down the line.
Max Roach has been,
oh, of course. But at the time, now when I get into my real heavy schedule and all that, I get tired traveling around the world, I always tell my managers or something, I say, is this the way Gene Krupa started? I mean, really, you have to go through all this?
Just play a little bit of something else on the, before we go.
Well, I give you, this is what we call the paila.
Okay.
It's a rhythm, see?
Great to have you. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.